Okay, let's dive right in. In the world of technology, there's this constant push and pull, right? You've got to move fast, but you can't break things. It creates all this friction, a ton of frustration, and it can even pit teams against each other. But what if you could actually have both? What if you could have speed and stability? Well, that's the promise of a movement called DevOps. So today, we're going to break down how this approach can transform a workplace from total friction into a state of, well, flow.
For so many of us, you don't even have to imagine this. It's just Tuesday. It's that world of constant firefighting, of always being behind on deadlines, and this, deep-seated mistrust between the folks who build the software and the folks who have to run it. It's a broken system, honestly, and it holds us back from doing our best work. But it's so common that a lot of us just kind of accept it as the way things are.
And right at the heart of all this chaos is a fundamental, chronic conflict. So on one side, you've got development. Their job is to ship new features, and they need to do it fast to keep customers happy. But on the other side, you've got operations. Their job is to keep everything stable, reliable, and online. These goals are, by their very nature, in opposition, and they create this barrier that's famously known as the wall of confusion. Now, this wall, it's more than just a catchy phrase. It leads to some really terrible outcomes. Deployments become these chaotic, high-stress events that are just riddled with errors. Important work gets stuck in these massive queues just waiting for someone else's approval. The whole system just grinds to a halt. It's this endless cycle of frustration. But what if there was a better way?
The big aha moment really came back in 2009. Two guys, John Allspaw and Paul Hammond. They get up on stage at a conference and they give a talk about how their team at Flickr was doing over 10 deployments a day. I mean, back then that was just unheard of. They showed the world how development and operations could actually cooperate, not fight, to get both speed and stability. For everyone in that room, it was a total game changer, and it really lit the spark for the entire DevOps movement. So what even is DevOps? This is so important. It is not a job title. It's not a special team you can just go out and hire. DevOps is a cultural movement. It's a different way of thinking that allows small, independent teams to build, test, and get their code out to the world quickly, but also safely and reliably. It's all about creating a safe system of work that's built on a bedrock of collaboration and trust. And this whole new way of working is guided by three core principles. They're known as the 3 ways, and they basically act as a roadmap for totally transforming how we get technology work done. So it all starts with the first way, the principles of flow. This is all about making work move as quickly and smoothly as possible in one direction, from development through testing to operations and out to the customer. Then we have the second way, the principles of feedback. This creates an equally fast flow of information in the opposite direction, from right back to left, so we can spot and fix problems almost instantly. And finally, the third way makes it all stick, a culture of continual learning and experimentation, where taking smart risks and learning from our failures isn't just allowed, it's encouraged. All right, let's dig into that, starting with what is absolutely the most important pillar, culture. You know, as tech people, we love to geek out about tools and processes. But the data, year after year, shows that culture is the real foundation. If you don't get the culture right, nothing else matters. A huge part of this culture is something called the blameless post-mortem. When something inevitably goes wrong, the goal isn't to find out who to blame. Instead, we ask, why did this happen? We treat human error not as the end of the investigation, but as the very beginning. The focus shifts to understanding the situation and fixing the system, not pointing fingers at a person. And this is what builds psychological safety, which you absolutely need if you want people to learn and improve. I love this quote because it just perfectly captures the whole mindset. Instead of being afraid that your best people will leave if you invest in them, a DevOps culture does the opposite. It's all about fostering empathy and trust, so that collaboration just becomes second nature. It's about creating a workplace where people actually feel empowered to do their best work. Okay, but a great culture needs the right structure to really flourish. And that brings us to our second pillar, architecture. Because as it turns out, the way we structure our teams and the way we structure our technology are really just two sides of the same coin.
This is the legendary Conway's Law, and it's one of the most profound insights in our entire industry. It basically says that your software architecture will always end up looking like your company's org chart. You can't escape it. If your teams work in silos and don't talk to each other, guess what? Your code will be siloed and won't talk to each other either.
So what does this look like in the real world? Well, if you have siloed teams organized by function, a database team over here, a server team over there, you are going to end up with a big, tightly coupled, monolithic application that needs a million handoffs and approvals to get anything done. But if you switch to small, cross-functional teams that are organized around a product or a service, they will naturally build loosely coupled architectures like microservices. And here is exactly why that is such a huge deal. Just look at the trade-offs. A monolith, which is what those siloed teams build, might seem simpler to start. But look at how it scores on deployability. A tiny change to one part of the code means you have to retest and redeploy the entire thing. It's incredibly slow and super risky. In contrast, a microservices architecture, the kind built by those small independent teams, lets each team deploy its own service whenever it wants. That right there is the secret to how high-performing organizations achieve both speed and safety.
Okay, so we've got the culture, we've got the right architecture. The third pillar is all about the technical practices that actually bring this vision to life and turn all this good theory into day-to-day reality. At the very heart of this is the deployment pipeline. I want you to think of it like an automated assembly line for software. Every single time a developer commits a change, it automatically gets picked up, built, and put through a whole series of tests. It moves from a commit stage with basic checks to a much tougher acceptance stage that mimics the real world. This gives everyone involved massive confidence that every change is safe and ready for customers.
And this pipeline is powered by a whole set of key practices. You've got continuous integration, which just means everyone's code is getting merged and tested together constantly all day long. You have automated testing, which gives you that super fast feedback on quality. And then there's infrastructure as code, which means our servers, our networks, our databases, they're all defined and managed just like software code, making them totally repeatable and reliable.
Now, when you get these three pillars, culture, architecture, and practice, all working in harmony, the results are, well, they're nothing short of transformative. And this isn't just about making engineers happier. This is about delivering real, measurable, bottom-line business value.
The data from years and years of research is just crystal clear on this. High-performing organizations that use these principles are twice as likely to blow past their goals for profitability, for market share, and for productivity. Just let that sink in for a second. We're not talking about a small, incremental improvement here. This is a massive competitive advantage, and it's driven entirely by how they choose to work.
And what's really amazing is they get all this speed without cutting corners on security. In fact, it's the opposite. By building security into the development process from day one, a practice sometimes called DevSecOps, these organizations spend 50% less time cleaning up security messes. They're not just tacking security on at the end. It's part of the flow from the very beginning, which is both way faster and way safer. But maybe the most jaw-dropping result is the impact it has on speed. This chart shows what's called deployment lead time. That's the time it takes from when a developer writes a line of code to when that code is actually running in production, helping a customer. For low performers, this can take weeks or even months. For the high performers, it's measured in hours, sometimes even minutes. This is the holy grail. This is the ability to deliver value to your customers faster and more reliably than you ever thought possible. So the takeaway here is really simple. DevOps isn't some kind of magic. It's a proven, repeatable blueprint for turning all that organizational friction into productive, valuable flow. The principles, the practices we've talked about, they show the path. And really, it just leaves every organization with one simple question. Are you building bridges, or are you just building taller walls?